is happening, fellow fantasy GMs? I am JJ Wang. He is the bearded one, DJ Dub. And with our powers combined, we are the Fantasy Couriers.
JJ Wang, it's Combine Weekend. Been seeing a lot of numbers popping up. Guys looking great in shorts and a t-shirt. Some look pretty putrid. We'll talk about them, but how much stock do you necessarily put in the combine? Can it only hurt, or can it hurt and help? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, for me, it's just it can only, I don't want to say it can only help, but it allows people on my radar. Like, they do good, and it gets them on my radar, so that way you can look into them a little more. You can keep track of them a little more. For the player, I mean, they have a good combine. It helps them out, but. Like, I've come to think lately, it's not as important as it used to be. Like, I think there's probably eventually going to come a time where, like, the top guys aren't even at the combine. It's going to be more for, like, the lower tier guys that are going to try to make the NFL. But as of right now, you go there, you meet everybody, but this can all be done, when they're pro days. They all do pro days anyway.
Yeah, true. I think it can really, really help you or really, really screw you.
Oh, it can definitely.
Probably no in between. Like, if you're in between, you're just sort of, Bijan's going to go in, he's going to do his stuff, and he's going to move on.
I mean, it can definitely screw you. I mean, if you're not fast, as somebody will talk about here shortly in one of our segments, it can really drop you down the board and just eliminate you from, being a top pick, completely.
Yeah, so, hey, welcome to the podcast. We're the Fantasy Couriers. You can hit us anywhere that there is social media. We're on all that thing. I did a nice sweaty TikTok this afternoon when I got in from a run.
I love sweaty TikToks.
A nice sweaty TikTok with fireworks in the back saying, hey, we're recording and we're going to talk about our topics for today, and said, check us out. Also, do us a favor, throw us a solid. We have upped our ante on Spotify. All you got to do, you don't have to listen to Spotify. If you do, cool, that's what I listen to, because I'm not an Apple guy. Most of my friends are. If you're an Apple person, jump on to Spotify and just follow us. Everybody follow us so that we can keep that really snazzy opening. We're getting close to the time where we don't have enough clicks on there. It's kind of like with YouTube. We'll need years and years and years of YouTube for them to even monetize us, and we make 1 penny per listen, so it's not giant money, but it just makes us feel special. And sometimes we like for us to feel special. Our moms tell us we're special. They know we're special. They love us. But could you all tell us we're special too?
That's about the only person that tells me I'm special.
You're special, JJ Wang.
Thanks.
Very special. So we're going to do something a little different. A lot of the pods I've listened to have been talking about best 2022 rookies. We're going to no longer make them rookies. So what we called it today is Rookies No More. No longer rookies. The 2022 rookie report card. We're going to hit a couple of guys that we thought were pretty good this year. Some guys who just dudded out that we were high on. And then we're going to throw out 2 guys that we think could really step up their game next year. And if you're in Dynasty, see if you can get them. I think my guy is probably a little more expensive than your guy. I like both guys. So we'll see where we end up. And some of these guys we won't spend as much time because we've already talked about a couple of them. And we just to note, as we're doing a lot of activities before, right now the running backs are running the 40. So if we holler anything, it'll be up. We just record it on Sunday because, we have kids and we love you. We'll talk about the running backs more next week as we go through things and we compare them to this year. So my first guy was a guy I was high on. I wasn't I did it out of order. Is a guy I was high on. He was my favorite receiver of the year, only because I liked Amon-Ra St. Brown so much. And I figured if he ran with Amon-Ra St. Brown, trained with Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's got to be a good player. So I got traded up, got myself some Drake London shares this year. I started the season and I was like, he had a couple good games to start, then a lot of meh. And then when Desmond Ridder came around, he became Desmond Ridder's favorite target. So my hope is that Drake London continues with Desmond Ridder last year and keeps being the wide receiver 1 for him and just gets targeted. He had a solid rookie year. Wide receivers, up until the more recent years, don't have breakout rookie years. Some do, like the all-times, but most guys have he had a pretty good rookie year, 72 for 866 and 4 touchdowns, and that's pretty solid. So I can see him taking that and just elevating it to the next level.
Yeah, I mean, he got targeted a lot once Ridder came in, which is great to see, but the yards just weren't there. That just goes to show you what kind of offense are they going to run with Ridder? Are they going to be able to throw it deep? I'm sure Ridder can throw it deep. I have no doubt about that. Or if Ritter's even the starting quarterback, still a lot to be proven there. But at least the targets are there, the yards and the touchdowns. Hopefully they'll come. I think going into the season, we probably wanted a little more out of London. He disappeared a lot for being such a big target.
Early to middle,
Um,
yeah.
so we'll see. Hopefully that not all wide receivers are productive their first year or even second year. So still young, got a long ways to go. The offense can only go up.
And Mariota is gone. So I think
Mariota's
that's.
gone.
I mean, he disappeared. He had the first 3 weeks. He looked like okay, decent, and then he just pooed to bed until Ritter showed up, and then it
Yeah,
came
that's
back.
what Mariota does. All right. So switching over to my guy, I mean, was pretty much everybody's favorite player at one point. That's Brees Hall. Played 7 games. Through 7 games, he had 463 yards rushing, averaged almost 6 yards a carry, 4 touchdowns. So he was killing it, right? At that point, he was probably RB1 dynasty wise. I mean, everybody
Mhm.
just wanted Brees Hall. Everybody was like, "That's the guy." And then 4 carries into his seventh game, he had 4 carries for 72 yards and a touchdown, and then he tears his ACL, so he's out for the year. So throughout those 7 games, he killed it. The first 2 games, he wasn't involved a whole lot. In the last game, he only had the 4 carries. So through 4 games, that's what he was working. He just at like I said, RB1. For his ACL, they say recovering faster than normal, but that's usually what they always say about these guys. He could be ready for camp, so that's a positive, but it may take him a while to get back um, into shape. But when he was at his peak, I mean, he was starting to kill it, man. He was the guy.
Yeah, it made me sick to watch a Jets running back be good because I don't want the Jets to succeed at anything except failing. And Brees Hall looks like the real deal. He was touted as the number one running back this year. He came out, everybody's like, "Hey, that's who we get. That's our single quarterback RB1 and really high in super flex rookie drafts." And usually we go back to back, but I'm going to put my guy in next if you don't mind because he hey, my wife's taking the good car. Man, I get the stinky car. She's taking my daughter away as I'm looking out the window. But anyway, my guy, Kenneth Walker III, I liked him a lot coming into the season and didn't expect much from him because I thought they would ride Rashad Penny to get their money out of Rashad Penny. But in Rashad Penny form, well, he got hurt. And Kenneth Walker just looked like the animal. Like I would have loved. Imagine if Brees Hall played the whole season. Like we would be spending all this time. We could just take apart how close, like how their runs were, how close these guys were, and just really, really compare them, which is what we'll have to do next year because Kenneth Walker killed it. 70 yards a game. He still had 27 targets. He rushed for 9 touchdowns. 228 rushes for 1050. That's pretty money for a running back. And I mean, rookie running backs can jump in, especially in a system where they're going to run. Question marks have from next year will be: do they re-sign Geno? If not, are they taking a rookie, and how would that affect him? But he looked like the real deal. Loved him.
Yeah, I mean, fantastic. I mean, everybody that drafted him that they didn't think they was going to get this. So he paid off big time. Even if they do get rid of Geno, bring in somebody else, they're still going to run the ball. That's what Seattle does.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, if they can make Geno look good, Geno's never really been good, right? And he just all of a sudden just became good. So so that bodes well for the next quarterback that comes in. Maybe Drew Lock can be that guy, right? We're all hoping. Probably
Wah,
not.
wah, wah.
But even though no matter who comes in at quarterback, I mean they're still going to run the ball, and he's the RB1 there. He's going to get a bulk of the carries, and sure, I pretty much a locked in RB1 next year, but could be like a top 5 running back going into draft season.
Imagine if he doubles those receptions and gets 50 receptions. He only had 165 yards receiving, but just throwing some receptions, man, dude, the sky's the limit as long as they don't, like, for some odd reason, draft a running back. They got a stud right there. So who you got? Actually, this next guy was on my list, and I switched him out, and you put him in. I liked it.
So my guy is the replacement for my guy. That's Brock Purdy, the San Francisco 49ers. We all know the history of the 49ers quarterbacks. They always get injured. He came in late. There's a theme to my guys here. And they all kind of came in late at a certain point or maybe didn't even play. So he came in the last 6 games, looked really good. 1,300 yards, 13 touchdowns, only 4 interceptions. So in that offense, I don't want to say it's easy to be productive, but I feel like it's kind of easy to be productive with the quarterbacks that have been productive in that offense. Kyle Shanahan does a real good job, but unfortunately, gets injured his elbow, so he's out for 6 months. It's a recovery. Going in this week for surgery, maybe waiting a little longer than they anticipated. Evidently, there was some swelling, couldn't go down. I'm not a doctor, because I guess they can't do surgery when it's all swollen. So he's going in this week, possibly ready for camp, possibly ready for week one. We don't know. I would say probably a safe bet that he won't be in consideration for the week one starter, I would guess. So that leaves it open for Trey Lance. But he performed way above expectations, and you really can't say anything bad about what he did.
You answered one of my questions I was going to throw out at you. Let's say that he is ready for camp. How much consideration should Kyle Shanahan have for him to be the QB? We've talked about it a little bit earlier, but he's played more football than Trey Lance in the NFL.
Oh, absolutely.
Think about that.
I'll just go with what Kyle Shanahan thinks. Kyle Shanahan's the coach. If Kyle Shanahan thinks Purdy's ready to go, that's unfortunate. I'd rather see Trey Lance, but I still think Trey Lance is going to have the head up. I think he'll maybe be able to earn a job a little sooner in camp. So if he can perform well in camp to open it up, I think he'll be the front runner to land the starting gig.
That'd be interesting to see. I'd love to see it a full-on battle and see what happens. Give him 2 weeks just to throw it in there. Purdy's, as far as I'm concerned, Purdy's earned it. And if Shanahan plays Trey Lance, in my opinion, at this point, he's just wanting to show that he's the greatest coach on earth because, the dude's played 3 games in the last 4 years. Is that about right? Something like that?
Sounds about right.
Was his last game JMU? It might have, other than the 2 games in the season. He's got so little. His last really good game. So that'll be interesting to see. So your last guy was a guy you were high on going into the season, I believe, weren't you?
Yeah, that's Rashad White. So going into the season, or about first 10 games of the season, really not much involved. It was just Leonard Fournette. He was getting 3, 4, 5 carries, and after that week 10. He had 4 top 24 finishes and 6 top 36 finishes. And that was being the second back to Leonard Fournette. I can't 100% see Leonard Fournette being back. So going into next season, he has a definite shot at the RB1 in Tampa Bay. Can't imagine him going after a running back high in the draft or even if free agency. I feel like they got more pressing needs with quarterback missing. The offensive line wasn't the greatest. Defense was getting older. So there's a lot of holes that need to be filled. So I think he's pretty safe as their RB1, and he can catch the ball really well. So I think going into next season, he could be competing for, top 12 RB performances.
He might be close to top 12 on my drafting list. Looking at what you got there. Breaking news though, Rashad White changed his jersey number for the season. He's RB1. So his number on his jersey is 1.
See, there we go. He knows something. Well, I guess I already knew that, but he's just letting the world know.
We just had to get the old, not old. I guess an NFL back old Fournette out of the way so that he's going to get 100% of the carries. I envision them. It's the NFL. They're going to bring in somebody and they'll be telling how much they bring. And if they bring in a scat back or
he's not getting 100% of the carries. We're probably talking 60% of the carries and all the receiving work. And that's what you want these days for an NFL running back.
You want the receiving work, and as a fantasy guy, and be wondering if they do a Thunder and Lightning because he's so strong, if they bring in a scat back and keep him there, it would limit him. That would be my only fear for him. But I love him. I'm with you as we go on. Last guy is a guy that we both were high on. Had an interesting into his college career, but George Pickens of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Every time I watch George Pickens play, all I think of is rookie Odell Beckham. You threw something his way, he did something crazy, and the ball stuck to his hand, and that's what I see with George Pickens. George Pickens looked good with Kenny Pickett as quarterback. And my thing for Kenny Pickett this year, he had the best looking terrible rookie season I've ever seen. I watched him play a couple of times, and he looked like I think Kenny Pickett could be a decent quarterback. Is he Peyton Manning? No. But I think it could be decent. And George Pickens with Kenny Pickett's of a year still had 800 yards and 4 touchdowns on 55 carries. And I watched some things this weekend just of some of those catches, and they said I heard people on the team saying those catches he made, that's like his 30th best catch we've seen him make. So this kid has talent. This kid is 6'3", 200, decent size. He'll be yesterday was his birthday. Yesterday is in Saturday, March 4th. So he just turned 22. So he's young, he's talented, and he's going to grow with a young quarterback. Sky's the limit for George Pickens. I love where he's headed.
Yeah, absolutely. We loved him coming in. 800 yards, 4 touchdowns. I mean, it's okay. My expectations were probably a little more, but the Pittsburgh offense wasn't great. They really had troubles running the ball. Like I said, Pickett coming in they didn't throw the ball a lot. I mean, Pickett did okay, but the offense overall was just not very good. I mean, he had some splashes like that. The offense has to improve. We know he's good. Will he be the wide receiver one if they re-sign Deontay Johnson? That's going to hurt too because I'm not sure how much passing volume there's going to be at the moment.
Yeah, it'll be intriguing to see how they decide to grow Pickett. Like I think they won't Pickett to pass it a lot. You know how Ben wasn't the biggest passer at the beginning, and same coaching staff. So it could be they just build him up and he has those good weeks. So the next segment should be really quick. Our terrible guys that stunk it up. I have a guy. My guy had 34 rushes for 99 yards. On the season, we all thought, hey, the 49ers are genius. We talk on here about how smart Kyle Shanahan is. So smart, he's going to start a quarterback that hasn't played in a game where he succeeded in over 3-4 years. So in the third round, when they draft Tyrion Davis-Price, who we all affectionately called TDP, we thought for sure Eli Mitchell's out the door because he'll get hurt. And sure as anything, Eli got hurt. But in comes CMC. TDP didn't do diddly poo. He looked terrible in his 6 games he actually played. So farewell. My brother-in-law texted me this morning. He tried to give me TDP because I have CMC. Drop him. Get rid of him. He's going to go the way of, what's that guy? Trey Sermon. So he'll be a practice squatter for the Eagles in a couple years.
Yep, I mean, you pretty much insert my guy with everything that you just said, and it's pretty much the exact same thing. And
I hope not. I think he's got a better future. That's
Isaiah Spiller. He was like I said, the combine really hurt him. He was slow going into the combine. He was also kind of hurt, so that didn't help. Of course, he came in as the third back. Kelly gets hurt. He gets his opportunity. I'm not sure of his stats. They were really bad. But by the end of the
18 for 41.
Yeah. By the end of the season, Josh Kelly had pretty much cemented his role as the RB2, and I think they really liked him. So with Eckler, the certified RB1, Kelly's the RB2, Spiller filling in as RB3. I mean, that's not what you want. You don't want an RB3 at this point. It's going to be tough, and maybe he can work his way back up. Who knows?
Of the two guys we're talking about, who has a better chance of ever being good? Is it still Spiller?
I mean, I don't know. I guess. I mean, Spiller was. Well, I don't know. I mean, neither one of them. Just who knows? They're both about literally exactly the same.
I mean, Spiller fell behind a guy the Chargers didn't really like to play, so maybe he works off on the offseason and gets some stuff up there. Like you have me convinced on Isaiah Spiller. I almost took him in the first round of a draft last year, and I was like, no, okay, I'll Pickens fell to me at that point. But yeah, they stink. So 2 guys real quick that we think could bust out next week. I'm gonna let you do your guy. I like your guy a lot, and I have a heart for him too.
Yeah, so my guy is John Metchie. We all know the story. Had leukemia, missed the whole season, missed training camp. They said he's recovering very well. I mean, they say he looks good. They say he's bigger, stronger, and faster. I mean, that's all you can hope for. He's not practicing, but he's been at practice. He had a great year at Alabama. He wasn't the guy at Alabama because of, we'll talk about your guy next. That was pretty much the guy, but he had a very good career in Alabama. He's going to get all the opportunity in Houston. And look, I mean, Roman Reigns came down with leukemia. 6 months later, he was fully recovered, and now he's literally the greatest champion in the history of the world. So maybe this is great things for John Metchie. He can come back from his battle with leukemia and turn into the greatest wide receiver we've ever seen. If Roman can do it, why can't John Metchie?
And maybe if Mechie decides to pretend to play football, then we will let to physically pretend to play football. Oh, Roman's in great shape and it's athletic. I couldn't do that. I watched a ladder match last
There's a
week.
lot of there's a lot of physicality to it too. It's just not going in there and not taking any physicality. There's a lot of physicality. I'm not comparing wrestling to football in any stretches of the
Well,
name.
on the sidebar, if anybody watches
That's not what
wrestling,
I'm
check
saying.
out the ladder match from last Wednesday's Dynamite on AEW. I cringed. I saw a
Yeah.
dude jump off a giant tall. Sammy Guevara jumped off a ladder onto a guy and broke it. Like, I'm sore from that. But anyway, it's neither here nor there. Yeah, I like Mechie a lot. I liked him coming in. 5'11", 187, fairly quick guy. So just getting up to game speed will be the catch for him. This year this year might be a stash year where you see him sneak into wide receiver 3 maybe. Maybe Nico steps up this year. D'Amico really likes Mechie from a lot of things he's saying. So I looked at some articles on that D'Amico likes, and he's going to have a great coach. I love D'Amico Ryans. D'Amico Ryans coming home to Houston. I loved watching him play. He was on my fantasy team for the Texans. But my guy is Jamison Williams, who came in. He would be the argument for me not to like Jamison Williams. He had one good college year. He had 1,500 yards in college, and then, of course, tore the ACL. Came back last year and was not really anything for the Lions. But I don't know if they expected much. I think I mentioned this in a fall podcast. I think the Lions last year wanted him just to fill NFL game speed, fill what the game felt like before this year when they're going to unleash him. So having him, he's not going to have the pressure of being the one. Amon-Ra is the one. And then the running backs are almost the 2. And then so there's not the pressure on him, and he could take that and elevate just to blow up in his second year. So I like Jamison Williams a lot. I mean, he's a number 12 pick of the draft, so they must have thought he was good to waste. But Lions do draft hurt, injured.
No, I mean, he's definitely going to get his opportunity. He's fast. Is this offense going to be what it was last year? I mean, the offense was pretty good. Is Jared Goff going to continue to be what Jared Goff was last year?
Of course he is.
I mean, there's a very good chance that it goes south. I mean, it is Detroit. I mean, you just never know. But yeah, James Williams, pretty much like all the receivers last year, turned out to be good. We'll see what Jameson Williams follows in the same path.
Yep. So those are some guys we like. We'll hit some more in the offseason, but they are no longer rookies in our book. Combine is going on. It'll be over to hear this podcast. We're going to do a little stock up, stock down with our fantasy college expert, JJ Wang here. Got a couple stock up, a whole bunch of stock downs. And then we'll talk about running backs next week because as we said, we're recording during the running backs wrapping up their stuff. I love where you're starting, man. You have me getting more excited every week. Tell me what you got.
Oh, yeah. So this first guy we're going to bring, I'm sure everybody's heard by now. I mean, it's been the talk of the town. That's Anthony Richardson going into the combine and just wowing everybody. Started out with the interviews. Evidently, the interviews went fantastic. I mean, that's step one. You hope they can wish for you. So he comes in 6'4", 244. So the guy's gigantic. He's got 10.5-inch hands. His hands are huge. We're not talking, Joe Burrow hands here, Kenny Pickett hands here. We're talking like defensive lineman style hands. Obviously, the most athletic guy at or QB at the combine. 4.4 40. His vert was 40. I mean, all these numbers are just really high. Yeah, I mean, these numbers are just crazy. So the combine, hero happens every year, and I think this could absolutely vault him into being in consideration for the first quarterback taken in the draft.
What percentage would you say chance there is that he goes number 1? Is that he's got to overtake Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, who are
And I don't think it's going to be very. Of course, let's say Bryce Young did come in over 200 pounds, so he was able to bulk up. So he was at 5'10", 204. Still really small. Of course, he's
Kyler Murray.
But Richardson's a project. But a team falls in love with. Say Carolina falls in love with him. Who did Carolina make prominence with in the early 2010s? Cam Newton. This is literally an exact replica of Cam Newton. So what if Carolina number 9 was like, hey, let's go up and get this guy. Let's get ahead of Indy. Might have to get up to that number 2 spot or even number 1, and let's just take our guy. I mean, it's happened before. I mean, why not now?
You threw out Daniel Jones in our talks before the podcast.
Yeah, Josh Allen went super high. Nobody thought Josh Allen was going to be any good. I mean, it happens.
I was a Josh Allen guy. I can claim. I'm not good at a lot of things. I claim that one.
You should be a scout because nobody. I mean, I don't know if you really thought he was going to be good. You might just fell
Not
in
that
love
good. I
with
thought he'd
him.
be good. I liked him coming out.
Yeah, right, because you fall in love with these guys because they're big. I mean, they look like quarterbacks. So I
Hey,
mean, and Rick,
put your quarterbacks in order. Who are your top 5 quarterbacks in the rookie class after the combine?
um, so, so I, I don't know. They're like I would put Richardson, Stroud, and Young all in the same tier at this point.
So all your tier base, and then it would be Levis, and
Yeah,
then
so I mean, if you wanted to take Bryce Young, I mean, go for it. I mean, he's not my style of quarterback, but he might be somebody's style quarterback. But I think Richardson's more everybody's style than let's say Bryce Young.
I'm gonna be a hot mess come July. I have 1.2, 1.5, 1.6, and they're all going to be within that realm. Who am I going to miss out with the 3 and the 4 pick? Oh, the first world problems of fantasy football managers. Okay, tell me about your second guy that you want to talk about who's had a good. We don't have all of his stats yet, but tell us about him.
Yeah, so the next guy is Darnell Washington out of Georgia. So he's big dude, right? So he's 6'7", 264, tight end. I don't know if I said that or not. So he's a great athlete. I mean, he ran a 4.640 at 267. And by the way, defensive linemen running low 4.4s, low 4.3s is absolutely stupid.
Ridiculous.
Like it's not even funny anymore. But like I said, this guy's like what's Gigantor from Indianapolis. I mean, he's that big, but the issue is that he's just raw. He's raw at tight end. I mean, I don't know if he's great at the position, but who was the guy from Virginia last year?
Jelani Woods.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they're literally the exact same person going to be in the NFL. Great, big, huge dudes. They're going to be open a lot in the red zone. So keep an eye out for him. Stock definitely went up with this big time 40 that he ran.
Sweet. I might get to root for him. I had a guy I was talking with last night, our boy Scott, who's been on the podcast, asking about Gesicki. I was like, yeah, he's not back in Miami. And asked about Durham Smythe if they like him. I said, yeah, they paid him and he can block, and that's what they want. So they're going to draft somebody in round 2 through 3. That's when we got picks. I could be rooting for a giant guy. He's going to be a project, but I like what I'm reading about him here. I'm enjoying, and I'd like to have a bulldog down there.
Yeah, maybe. So switching over to the stock down a couple. I don't really want to say a couple guys, so I'm going to say more or less the wide receiver position. I feel like there's not going to be a whole lot of wide receivers going in the first round like there was last year and the year before. There just wasn't any. Of course, it's Jackson Smith-Njigba's good. Jalen Hyatt's good. Zay Flowers ran a super fast 40, but I don't know. I mean, he's short, so we don't know what that's going to turn out. Like, nobody was astonishing. So I feel like the wide receivers as a whole, kind of a stock down. And then my other guys, quarterback Tanner McKee out of Stanford. Their prospects were not want to say high going in, but once everybody, I guess, when they looking at him throw, he's got like I guess a weird delivery or all this other nonsense that I looks normal to me, but I guess to the scouts it just looks kind of different. So his stock definitely fell a lot. So he might be the 5th, 6th, 7th round here.
Okay, Bijan just ran a 4.47. App State kid ran a 4.6. He must be a thicker boy. I'm seeing anybody pops up. Jamar Gibbs 4.40, 4.4. That's pretty money as far as draft picks. I'm seeing him pop up. There we go. Devin Akane 4.34.
A-Chain, yeah. So super fast.
Okay, so but yeah, receivers. How many of the? Sorry, it just popped up. How many of those receivers do you think will go in the first round? I mean, I think
Njigba probably goes in the first round. Quentin Johnson probably goes in the first round, and Addison goes in the first round. But after that, I'm thinking from when I say first round, I'm thinking like 20 after 20. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot drafted from like 8 to 20 like there was last year. I think they'll be drafted mid 20s and later.
At the combine on today, they were talking about they like these interior linemen this year.
Yeah, like the defense, like the cornerbacks are super fast. The defensive linemen are super fast. Just everybody's just really like. There's running backs are way better this year. Quarterbacks are way better. Everybody's way better, except for the wide receivers. It's gonna be a hard time drafting them.
Sweet. Well, there's our start. We'll get you some more. I just gave you those quick updates, as you all have probably heard them all because you watched it before you listened to us. If not, you listen to us like 6:30 on Sunday when I get all this out. But JJ Wang, give us some wisdom for our week, and then we'll peace out and wish you all a great week.
Yeah, so after the combine is over, go back and just watch some of the highlights from some of the drills. You don't have to watch all the drills. Just go back, just watch running back highlights, wide receiver highlights, and you're going to come across the guy that you probably, oh, I kind of, or that guy's super fast, or I like the way he runs, or his speed was really quick. It's kind of how I spotted Zonovan Knight last year. Zonovan Knight wasn't great, but he came in, he had a game or two that was effective in fantasy, which is all you want. Super low round pick. But if you just go ahead and watch some highlights, I mean, watching highlights are really fun. They can really make you fall in love with a guy. It's fantastic. And it gives you somebody to root for in the draft that nobody knows that you want to go after. So, as always, trust yourself and trust the process.